And of course, as always, we try our best to base everything on the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So firstly, I'm going to try to make this a little bit entertaining instead of me just talking and boring you all, because this is the way that it should be. If you look at the history of education between just the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and Jibreel alayhi salam, you're going to find something so amazing. You're going to find something that new research is just finding today. And it's awesome, so awesome. How our deen is so complete. If we just ponder for a moment, and when we read a hadith, or we hear a story of the Prophet ﷺ, or we read an ayah, we ponder upon it. So as we all know, what was the first revelation? What was the first word that was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ? Iqra. This is a command. Jibreel alayhi came to the Prophet ﷺ in Ghar Hira. He's by himself in a cave. Imagine our students. They're coming, they're a little bit scared, as if they're kind of in a cave, especially coming to secondary new, coming back from summer, a little bit scared. Jibreel alayhi came in the form of an angel. He didn't come in any other form, came in his form of an angel, and his wings were covering the whole sky. Very scary, if you could imagine. And the Prophet ﷺ was very scared, and he comes and he commands him, Iqra, read. This is the first words that he heard between him and his teacher to his student. Think about this. As teachers, should we come in with this beautiful fake approach with the kids? I want to be your friend. I hope you had a nice summer. You know, if you think about it, what real good experienced educators would say is the first day, the first week, the first month. This is the most important. To be very serious. You don't have to be, slapping people around and going crazy by any means, but to be serious, to state your rules and your commands and be serious about it. That way the kids know, okay, this person is serious. This teacher means business. It's not going to be whatever I want this year. So even if in the past, you've been one of these type of teachers and you've had some trouble with discipline and like this, it's not too late to change. And definitely if you're new to the school or if you're just new to teaching in general, this is the right approach. And if you look at now, the times, Jibreel and his relationship with the Prophet ﷺ, as the history or his seerah goes on. Later you will see that one time the Prophet ﷺ now was sitting with his companions. And Jibreel alayhi came to him in the form of a man. And he came in the form of a man dressed in white, beautiful, clean clothes. And he had very dark, clean, slick hair. And he came to the Prophet ﷺ, and all the companions were looking like, who is this man? They've never seen him before, but he has no traces of travel on him. And this is the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam, very, very famous hadith. They call it the hadith of Jibreel. So he came to him as the form of a man, kind of like the form of a student coming to a teacher. So he comes to him. What does he do? He comes directly to the Prophet ﷺ and he sits right in front of him, teacher and student, right? And he puts his knees, touching his knees. And he takes his hands and places them on the Prophet ﷺ's thighs. Look how attentive the person who's seeking knowledge is to his teacher. Then he starts asking him questions. What is Islam? What is Iman? What is Ihsan? When is Yawm al-Qiyamah? He's just drilling him, all these questions. The Prophet ﷺ, of course, he knows the answers. He's responding. And he's saying, that's correct. And the companions are watching this like, what is this traveler who doesn't even look like a traveler? He's asking questions and he's saying correct. As if he's the teacher or something, subhanAllah. But they don't know. So the hadith is very long and it goes on. At the end, Jibreel alayhi salam, he leaves. So the Prophet ﷺ, he asks his students, the companions, do you know who that was? Look at good teaching, guys. Listen. Do you know who that was? He doesn't just tell them. He lets them think for a moment. Who is this guy? They don't know. They say, Allahu wa Rasuluhu a'lam. Like they would usually respond. Allah and His Messenger know better. So he said, this was Jibreel alayhi salam. Think about it. It's my teacher. This was Jibreel alayhi salam. He came to teach you your deen. Wow. What another awesome, innovative teaching method that we just recently thought about. Teachers do some co-teaching. But not always the director coming and sitting in the back with a mean face and 5s and 6s and 4s and HODs, those horrible HODs. They're drilling you and they're mean and they don't want to talk to you. They're coming in as if, I'm not going to diss HODs, subhanAllah. I can do that, I think. They come in as if they're better than you. No. So Jibreel alayhi salam, look at his status and his position, the best of all the angels. He's coming with the revelation. He does not make mistakes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the angels that way. He's only worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's all he does. But he comes how? He sits in front of him. He's attentive. He's asking him questions. He doesn't say, I already know the answer. I'm Jibreel. He doesn't say this. But he tells him, yes, that's correct. He's just making sure. What an awesome teacher to teacher. Co-teaching in front of your peers. What else now? If you look at the end of the life of the Prophet ﷺ, he used to say in Ramadan, Jibreel ﷺ used to always come to him in Ramadan. And he would review the Quran with him once. But his last Ramadan that he was alive, he reviewed with him twice. So the last year, he reviewed the Quran with him twice. Think about this. When we're teaching, revision as kids get older should be more or should be less? Of course, should be more. Like the history line just between Jibreel as a teacher and the Prophet ﷺ as a student is profound. It's amazing. It's something that's so innovative, and a lot of educators say, this is the new way of teaching and all this. This is something that we've had a long time ago. We just don't think about it. I'm not trying to come as this pretty teacher and so nice, and I'm the one who's quiet and shy. Right away, the students are going to notice this. No, I'm going to come in, you know what I'll say, because I know he's not going to be embarrassed. I'll come in with a Hafiz approach. I'm going to have control of my class, and I'm going to walk around knowing everyone knows that this is my class. Am I right, Hafiz? I promise.
That approach. Business first.
Yes, business first. And I used
relationship after.
No doubt. And not just Hafiz.
I like that one.
I promise, I used to walk down the halls, and I wasn't a brand new teacher, but I was new in the Emirat. And I used to sit, and the teachers are not here, so I'm not going to say their names, but I used to walk by some teachers, and I'd hear some things that they're doing the first week, especially of school. One teacher was sitting so calm and quiet, and I was like, this is weird. He's calm and quiet. This is opposite of what I was taught, to be serious and like this. But the kids were all quiet. So then I knocked on the door, and I knew the teacher well. So I asked him, can I just come in and sit for a minute? So I'm sitting and I'm listening, and it's hilarious. He's talking so calm, but what he's saying is very scary. He's telling like, you know what, guys? I'm going to be your best friend, but at the same time, I'm going to be your worst nightmare. And he starts saying these big words. And he said, you know, I know your parents' numbers, and he starts saying all the ways that he can connect to parents. He's being just right to the point. So it's not just yelling and being loud, it's having that complete control and being so very serious. So that's my teaching method with Jibreel and the Prophet ﷺ. Now I want to get into some of the teaching methods from the Quran. As we all know, the Quran is filled with history lessons and stories of the prophets, so many, and stories of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So as teachers, definitely we do not need to share our personal life, ever, even with our co-workers. My wife just did this, or my kid, and he's bad. We don't do this. But if you have stories to say, don't be so tight that I'm just sticking to the PowerPoints and sticking to the lessons. Just like we enjoy hearing stories, kids love to hear stories, especially real stories, not fake stories that you're making up, and then when you get questioned about it, you don't know what you're saying. Like, give them real stories that are related to your topic. Put some thought into these stories, though. Don't just come out and start speaking, because what could happen is they start spreading rumors, and it's not very smart to do something like this. But stories are awesome, and the stories of the prophets are so many. The most mentioned prophet by name in the Quran is whom? Musa alayhi salam. And his story is so important and related to the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Thus, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has his story all over the Quran. From Surah Al-Baqarah all the way to Juz Amma, his story is mentioned in different parts. Because this was needed for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to become a rahmah lil alameen, a mercy to all of mankind. He needed to learn from the stories of the prophets. This will also give him peace of mind, and it will give him itma'neen al-qalb. It'll keep his heart assured that, okay, the prophets before me, they were dealing with tough things as well. So stories are excellent. If you look now, this is something that, I was taught and I learned, and I don't know why I never thought about it, and maybe many of you don't either, is when you read Surah Al-Kahf, and we all read Surah Al-Kahf, inshallah, every Friday. If you look at the story of Musa and Al-Khidr, who was the teacher and who was the student?
Khidr was the teacher.
Khidr was the teacher, right? And Musa alayhi salam, he thought that he had all the knowledge, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him there is somebody who has more knowledge than Khidr. So of course now Musa, as a true student of knowledge, he wants to go find that person and learn from him. So listen to this. When he comes to Al-Khidr as this great teacher and someone with so much knowledge, what is their interaction with each other? And this is like, to me, the golden rules. This is the smartest, most intelligent man in the world, Al-Khidr, and someone wants to gain from him. What does Musa alayhi salam tell him? when he tells him, وَكَيْفَ تَصْبِرُ عَلَى مَا لَمْ تُحِطْ بِهِ خُبْرًا? How can you learn from me and be patient if I'm going to teach you something that you have no idea about? What is his response? This is what good students need to know, and this is what we need to tell our students. You want to be a good student, like Musa alayhi salam, these are the two ultimate rules that you must come with. وَكَيْفَ تَصْبِرُ عَلَى مَا لَمْ تُحِطْ بِهِ خُبْرًا قَالَ سَتَجِدُنِي إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ صَابِرًا وَلَا أَعْصِي لَكَ أَمْرًا. Verily, he's saying, you're not going to be patient with me. He said, Insha'Allah, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will find me patient. So the best students are patient. And what's the other rule? وَلَا أَعْصِي لَكَ أَمْرًا. I will not disobey any of your rules. Now that covers a lot, of course. But if you just generalize and teach the students, be patient. I'm going to say it, I'm going to do a lot of things, I'm going to give you a lot of assignments, I might be late, I might be this. Patience is number one. Because this is what Musa gave to Al-Khidr, or told Al-Khidr, that allowed him to come walk with him and learn and take from his knowledge. Be patient. The other thing, just, we all have many rules. But if you just generalize them and say, just follow all of my rules. I'm the teacher, I've experienced, I know what's best. If I'm mistaken, come to me and talk to me, but just let's agree. First thing, you're going to be patient. Next thing, you're going to follow all of my rules. That's it. And I'm going to try my best to follow all of the school's rules. Thus, there's going to be the best teaching and learning happening. It's so profound if you think about it. It covers every single thing when it comes to rules. No one will have any other rule that doesn't fall into these two rules. The Quran, of course, and the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, the life of the Prophet ﷺ, there's many metaphors and parables and similes, so many. I'm just going to name a few, like in Surah Ibrahim, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is comparing the good word to the bad word. He compares the good word as a tree that is firmly rooted into the ground. And from this firmly rooted into the ground tree comes what? Thamarat. It comes the fruits of the tree. This is a good word. Ashar to a bad word. Bad word is like a tree that's uprooted from the ground. Imagine, have you ever seen a tree that's roots are outside of the ground, it's kind of leaning? You'll never just see all of these fruits coming from that tree. You don't get no benefit from this. So the comparison of a good word to a bad word. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also compares when he says, لَهُ دَعْوَةُ الْحَقِّ. He has the true da'wah, the true dua. When you want to ask, supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ask him. In Surah Al-Ra'd, لَهُ دَعْوَةُ الْحَقِّ وَالَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِهِ لَا يَسْتَجِيبُونَ لَهُمْ بِشَيْءٍ إِلَّا كَبَاسِطِ كَفَّيْهِ إِلَى الْمَاءِ لِيَبْلُغَ فَاهُ وَمَا هُوَ بِبَالِغِهِ. He has the true da'wah, the true dua. When you want to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you ask of anything else, supplicate to anything else, it's as if you see the water and you're thirsty. And you reach for the water so that you can fulfill your thirst. Are you going to fulfill your thirst just by reaching? No. What an outstanding parable. What an outstanding way of thinking. And he does this many times, especially when it comes to telling the mushrikeen, look at the things that you worship and you believe in. How can they benefit you? Also he says in Surah Al-Jum'ah, مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ حُمِّلُوا التَّوْرَاةَ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَحْمِلُوهَا كَمَثَلِ الْحِمَارِ يَحْمِلُ أَسْفَارًا. Like the people who carry these books, they don't do anything with it. It's like the himar, like the donkey. The donkey that's carrying books, but they don't practice, they don't do anything. It's of no benefit to the donkey. Same like these people who carry the Torah. Also with scientific facts, not just for science teachers, but math and English. When you add in some true facts, whatever it may be, it can become, mind-blowing to the students. And one of the most awesome ayat, subhanAllah, that I love so much, in Surah Al-Baqarah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَسْتَحْيِي أَن يَضْرِبَ مَثَلًا مَا بَعُوضَةً فَمَا فَوْقَهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not shy to bring to your attention this parable of a mosquito and anything above a mosquito. Imagine 1400 years ago, especially you scientists, anyone who is interested in animals and insects. 1400 years ago, what in the world did they know about mosquitoes? What was a mosquito? It's something that weighs nothing, that does nothing, and it's useless. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying 14+ years ago, Allah is not shy to talk about a mosquito, that He created this mosquito and anything above it, as if it's something that's not too important. Now what do we know about mosquitoes? What have we researched and discovered? I've heard unbelievable things. There's more than 3,500 species of just mosquitoes. Unbelievable. Mosquitoes are the most deadly animals in the world. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying 14, they didn't know this 1400 years ago. He's saying he's not shy to talk about a mosquito because it's something that's huge, but we only knew this now. So when you talk about these scientific facts, it could be mind-blowing. It could grasp kids' attention, and it's not a lot of times, if it's truly, truly true, then there's no arguing back and forth about it. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala poses many, many challenges in the Quran. Many, many challenges to the people who associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the people who doubted this revelation. You say this is the word of man, and this is the word of a sorcerer, and the Prophet ﷺ is a liar, and like this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used to challenge them and say, if you can create something like it, create something like it. But you will not be able to create something like it. Look at this challenge. How about just create 10 ayat? How about one ayat? He's challenging. So as a teacher, this is a teaching method. Challenge your students and allow them to try. Don't give them challenges that are impossible, but give them challenges. Now, when we look at the life of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, I just heard recently, someone sent me a message with this big-time psychologist, and he's saying, a good teaching method for students and for your own kids is always be positive praise. Try your best to overlook the negative. And it sounded awesome. It sounded very on point. It sounded pretty new to me. It's like, kind of leave the bad things, especially if they're little bad things. But so you have a class, if you could imagine this is a class. If I just take the men, for example, of like 30 men, and only Kamran, he's doing excellent. Everyone else is talking and all over the place. Just stress Kamran. You're doing excellent, Kamran. 20 extra points. I'm so proud of you. You know what, Kamran? I'm going to call your parents today. Think about this opposite approach. Instead of punishing everyone and talking about everyone, Kamran, I'm calling your parents. I can't believe how excellent you've been. What will happen, obviously, all these kids are going to start noticing, okay, this Kamran guy, the teacher is really loving him. I'm not going to sit and worry about, okay, Ibrahim, okay, Sa'id, okay, Mahmoud, Abdullah. I'm not going to worry about individuals because that takes away from Kamran. And then I'm not really teaching anything. I'm just trying my best to pick on these little problems. Okay, so I said, this is awesome. I'm going to start trying this. Truly, I started trying at home, and it was excellent. Then I started thinking, wait a second. This is from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and from Kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Did the Prophet ﷺ not make dua and praise his companions? Did the Prophet ﷺ, when he knew Abu Bakr is in Jannah, did he tell him he's in Jannah? Did he tell Umar he's in Jannah? Did he tell Uthman you're in Jannah? Positive praise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Surah Al-Fath, لَقَدْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with the believers who gave allegiance under the tree. He's saying he's pleased with them. So to say you're pleased and you're proud, this is not something we should shy from at all. And I do have a personal story, very, very quick. Just last year, one of my students, grade 6 boy, he was in a pretty rough class, PE class. But this kid was amazing from the beginning of the year. He didn't care about any of his peers. So we were doing a test, and they were just running around in the gym, just a running test. And the kids were giving me a hard time. They're not really running. They didn't. Some of them were putting good effort, not their best effort. This kid, this was the last test of the year, and he was already amazing in the beginning of the year, and he was improving. So the end of the year, like he had done, beginning of the year, 20 laps, 25 laps, and then the end of the year, he did something crazy like 35 laps. And he's working, and no one else is working. So after class, I got all the kids together to conclude the class, and I told them, you know what? This kid, and I brought him to the front. I said, I love this kid so much. A true man is this kid. And I started praising him so much. I said, you know what? And I'm just so excited. I said, I'm going to call your mother right now. And I'm going to call your father. And I'm going to ask them for a meeting. And I'm going crazy. Mainly because I want to put down the other kids. And because I want to encourage this kid. So truly, I went and I called the mother and father. And I was still hyped, real hyped. Because he did something to me, it was outstanding. Not just he improved, because a lot of kids improve and they work hard. And that's what we expect. But because he went against all his other classmates. And by the way, he was the smallest kid in the class. He was supposed to be a 5th grader. So it made it even more impressive. So what happened? SubhanAllah. Look how a teacher gets rewarded, inshallah, for a good intention. So I tried to call the father. He does not pick up the phone. So I called the mother. And the mother, she's very excited and pleased. So she tells me, you know what, let me talk to my son. So I hear her. She's talking to her son. And I can understand what she's saying by his responses. So he's responding, telling her, my favorite food is mensaf. You know, the Jordanian mensaf, the big rice with I think a lot of you know mensaf with meat. It's a very big dish, the biggest dish in Jordan and in Palestine, I think. So anyway, so he's responding to her like this. So I'm thinking, this is weird. You know, I'm praising, so maybe she's going to cook for this kid, you know, a big dinner tonight or whatever. Subhanallah.